Sarah was taking one last look at her father's coffin when a sentence accidentally spoken by the church secretary turned her life upside down. "Your mother is truly a brave woman, going through such a transformation." When she heard this, she froze. What transformation? Had everything she knew about her mother been a lie? Welcome to the Human Stories. Before we begin this powerful story of family secrets and sacrifice, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe that true love conquers all obstacles, hit that subscribe button. These stories must not be forgotten. St. Mary's Church had been preparing since early morning. Everything had to be perfect for David Thompson's funeral. Sarah, his only child, was holding her mother's hand tightly, preparing for her father's final journey. The 23-year-old girl was preparing to face the hardest day of her life, amazed at how strong her mother remained. Elizabeth Thompson, 52 years old, was an elegant and calm woman. Her gray hair was in a neat bun, her black dress perfectly fitted. For years, neighbors had described her as the perfect wife and mother. Her sacrifices for Sarah, the patience she showed during David's illness, always being there for her family. Everyone admired Elizabeth. The funeral service began peacefully. As Pastor Morrison spoke about David's life, tears streamed from Elizabeth's eyes. Sarah was trying to support her by gently stroking her mother's hand. The small church was filled with close friends and family members. Everyone was there to support Elizabeth. When the ceremony ended, Sarah left her mother's side for a moment to speak with the church secretary, Mrs. Henderson. The elderly woman tearfully took Sarah's hand. "Dear, your mother is truly a brave woman," Mrs. Henderson said softly. "Going through such a transformation, and then raising you alone. She's a real hero." Sarah froze. "Transformation?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mrs. Henderson's face suddenly changed. Had she said something she shouldn't have? Sarah, don't you know?" "Know what?" Sarah's heart began beating rapidly. The elderly woman stepped back. "Nothing. Dear, I'm an old woman. My mind gets confused sometimes." But the expression in her eyes was completely different. Sarah didn't know the truth. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep at home. The word transformation wouldn't leave her mind. What kind of transformation had her mother experienced? Had she lost weight? Changed her religion? What could be so important? She got up early the next morning and went to her mother's room. Elizabeth was in deep sleep, exhausted from the funeral. Sarah quietly opened her mother's closet. Maybe she would find the answer there. On the top shelf of the closet was an old shoebox. When Sarah brought it down and opened it, she gasped. Inside were old photographs, letters, and documents. When she held the first photograph, her world stopped. In the photograph was a handsome young man, dark-haired, strong-jawed, with delicate hands. He looked very much like Sarah. On the back of the photo was written, "Michael Thompson, 1992. Michael? Who was this? When she looked at the other photographs, she was even more surprised. It was like a series of photos showing how the same person had changed over the years. In each photo, he looked a little more feminine. His hair was growing longer, his facial features softening. Then she found that letter. It was headed Dr. Patricia Williams, Gender Transition Therapy. The letter was dated 1995, 2 years before Sarah was born. "Dear Michael, your hormone therapy is progressing perfectly. I think you're ready for surgery. This will be the final step to becoming your true self. I know you're eager to become Elizabeth." The letter fell from Sarah's hand. Elizabeth, her mother, had been born male. Just then she heard a sound. Her mother had woken up. Sarah tried to quickly put everything back in the box, but it was too late. Elizabeth was standing in the doorway, fear and worry on her face. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" "Mom." Sarah's voice wouldn't come out. I was just..." Elizabeth saw the box and understood everything. She slowly entered the room and sat on the edge of the bed. "You found out, didn't you?" Sarah nodded tearfully. "Why didn't you tell me?" Elizabeth took a deep breath. "Because you are my daughter. Nothing else matters. But you were a man. Michael was. I am Elizabeth, your mother." Elizabeth's voice was firm. "Sarah, let me tell you my real story." Elizabeth slowly began. "I always knew I was different. Even as a child, I was unhappy when forced to act like a boy. In my inner world, I always lived as a girl. When I studied psychology in university, I learned about gender transition. Sarah was crying but listening. I began my transition process in 1994. Those were my hardest years. My family rejected me. I lost my friends. But I knew this was what I had to do. To be myself. What about Dad? How did he meet you? Elizabeth smiled. I met your father in 1996, right when I was completing my transition process. I told him the truth, and he accepted me as I was. He said, "Who you were doesn't matter. Who you are matters." Sarah was sobbing. And when you were born, I found the meaning of my life. I had always dreamed of being a mother but thought it was impossible. You were my miracle, Sarah. With you, I truly became Elizabeth. Sarah went to her mother and hugged her. Mom, I'm so sorry. You thought I would judge you, didn't you? Yes, because this society can be very cruel. I wanted to protect you, but you didn't give birth to me. Elizabeth smiled. No, I didn't give birth to you, but I raised you. I told you bedtime stories every night, slept by your side when you were sick, applauded you in school plays. Motherhood is measured not by giving birth, but by love. Sarah hugged her mother tighter. You're the best mother. And you're so brave. So are you. Because you're my daughter. They spent weeks processing this shock, but together. Sarah felt closer to her mother than ever before. As she understood the difficulties and sacrifices Elizabeth had experienced, she respected her even more. One day Sarah asked her mother, "Do you ever regret it?" "Only one thing. That I didn't tell you sooner. But I never regretted my transition process. Because by becoming my true self, you came into my life." Sarah smiled. "I should have told you something sooner, too." "What?" "You're the world's best mother. Whether as Michael or Elizabeth. You're my mom." This story shows us that family is built not by blood ties, but by love. Elizabeth Thompson may not have given birth to Sarah, but she raised her, loved her, protected her. That's what made her a real mother. Don't you think true love and motherhood mean accepting unconditionally? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you've also met such a sacrificial parent, tell their stories. These kinds of stories need to be heard because at the Human Stories, we believe every person has the right to be themselves. If this story touched you, subscribe, share, and help these voices be heard. We'll see you in the next story. And until then, when you see someone who raised you with love, remember not how they became a parent, but how much they loved you.